Our team has been on the ground every day of this week, meeting with volunteers, rescuers, medical personnel, firefighters, law enforcement, military. And here are some of their astounding stories of rescues that you're going to hear that is going to really touch your heart.
Torrential downpour began in the Appalachian Mountains of western North Carolina. Over a 3-day period, creeks and rivers began rising at an astonishing rate. Massive mudslides threatened thousands of homes as families unprepared for the once-in-a-thousand-year flooding faced devastation. Entire cities and communities were on the verge of being wiped out. This is a story just now unfolding.
I was out at the trucks that had ice and doing ice distribution and water distribution, and the stories of the people that were coming out there. It was tragic. It was tragic.
You remember some other stories?
There was a 17-year-old man who had the bodies of his parents and his grandparents in a pickup truck, and he had to find a place to bring them, and he had no place to bring them.
3 days of rain prior to Hurricane Helene hitting western North Carolina caused massive flooding and mudslides. Within hours, power was lost. EMS failed and mudslides began destroying college campuses and homes.
And I guess I really didn't understand how big this was going to be, and so I decided just to gun it across and made it. Having gone back now, there was a big shipping container that had wiped out the bridge. And most of that area is, pretty wiped out now. But we made it out, and that started kind of the first 72 hours that I worked for the response from the local government.
Over 1,000 emergency calls came within the first few hours with no one to respond. The entire communication system had failed.
The amount of damage in just this small area alone was pretty catastrophic. You have areas like the Black Mountain Home for Children suffered a massive landslide. The Blue Ridge Assembly for the YMCA suffered a large landslide. The Montreat College, Swannanoa Valley got swept up in the river. Garin Creek out of Fairview got swept up and destroyed several homes there. I know the day of, they pulled out 11 bodies.
With the entire EMS collapsing, local residents began taking the lead in rescuing family, neighbors, and strangers. After former Special Forces operator Adam Smith found his family, he began calling upon veterans to respond. Within hours and days, private, corporate, and military helicopters arrived. This began a massive rescue operation over the next 21 days and continues indefinitely into isolated mountainous regions.
I got to tell you a story. I had a man on Sunday morning come to me here. There was a radio interview that got put out that said we were handing out water, and we had the pickup truck full of water. And I really wanted to try and save it for the people in the mountains, but I couldn't turn him away. I asked him how he was, and he said he lost his home and he lost his business and he had nothing. And he said, "That's not the piece that bothers me the most. The piece that bothers me the most is the little girl tied to her mom that I had to pull out of the river." He said, "I can only imagine that she did it because she didn't want to lose her and she knew they were going to die." The battle that immediate response and rescue faces is access to people, but more importantly, a lack of communication. The reality on the ground is that a majority of the communication was knocked out for well over 72 hours.
Wesley Cleaches, founder of Operation Restore Hope, began a massive medical and emergency response, calling upon his team. Hundreds of medical personnel responded, and in the first 2 weeks gave out over 900,000 pounds of life-saving medical assistance. Medical teams are still mobilizing, rescuing and giving life-saving medical care as winter sets in.
And I'm worried most that this area is going to be forgotten about. It's going to be some other stories going to come along, and these people are going to be pushed to the side. This is going to be a years-long process.
Medical and rescue personnel on the ground estimate that the death toll from this region is 800 and rising. The destructive force of water that removed whole towns and caused landslides have made it impossible to recover most victims. It is estimated that most will never be found, and until a missing persons reports are conducted, it will be months before the total death toll is known. Please consider donating to Operation Providing Hope for medical assistance and needs, to Savage Operations for ongoing rescue and recovery operations, and Feed 3 Operation Restore Western North Carolina for the ongoing recovery and rebuilding of the devastated cities in Western North Carolina.
Many of the rescuers have been coming back from mountainous areas where in one case 150 people have still been stranded on the mountain. They were taking medical supplies and rescue supplies to those people as we were meeting that day. Story after story is there are many hundreds of others stranded in key mountainous areas that need recovery. So please help us at www.feed3.org as we support local organizations here on the ground and Operation Restore Western North Carolina. Thank you and God bless.